This suite of commands will allow you to move, raise or lower, rotate and resize an LSS survey. It may be that you need to use 2 or more commands to achieve the desired result, and this tutorial will show you the various options available. Firstly, it is important to note that when you transform a survey, everything in that survey moves, including annotation, levels text, stations, the whole lot. Secondly, some of the options cannot be performed while the survey contains radial, that is angle and distance, data, but they will convert the survey to XYZ automatically for you. Thirdly, it is always a good idea to work on a copy of your survey just in case the process goes wrong and you want to revert back to a previously saved version. And finally, if you think that your survey will need to be transformed at some stage, it is worth considering how much editing you need to do before transforming and how much to do afterwards. We're thinking here about if you've applied surface features to the survey and then subsequently rescale it. You are likely to lose some of those surfaces. Also, if you spent time aligning level text and then rotate the survey, think about how this might affect what you've already done. Transform offset by east-north level allows you to enter an easting, a northing and or a level difference. Let us just reduce the level for the survey by this amount, and if you look at these levels on screen you will see that they have changed immediately. Rotate by bearing enables you to select a pivot point either from an individual observation within the survey or by selecting mode, a free-floating XYZ, station, grid, or typing in a coordinate, typing in an observation number, or typing in a station name. For example, if we wanted to pivot the survey about the central point, I've just selected a point roughly in the middle, and I can either type in a from and a to bearing, or if I just want to rotate it by 45 degrees, then in this mode, which is degrees, minutes, seconds, I would need to type in 45 in this manner, or if I select the mode and change it to decimal degrees, then I can simply just type in 45. This will now rotate clockwise, pivoting about that central point by 45 degrees. Transform scale by east-north cannot be performed on a survey which contains radial observations. Therefore, before we can perform this transformation, we must choose observations to XYZ and convert everything to XYZ from radials. Before we perform the transformation, I'm going to query a distance along this wall. And as it stands, it is 22.29 meters from one end to the other. If I choose to transform scale by east-north and select this end of the wall as the pivot point and multiply everything by 1.5, it should increase the length of that wall by 1.5, and in fact everything else in the survey will be expanded by 1.5. If we now return to this wall and query the distance again, it was 22 meters, it's now 33 meters. This exercise would be useful if you had digitized a survey and the original scale was incorrect. Transform scale by level will allow us to select an existing level within our survey and then multiply the levels above and below that value. For example, at the moment this point is 1 meter above the selected 94 meter point, and this one over here is 1 meter below. If I entered a multiplier of 2, then I'm expecting this to become 96 and this one to become 92. If, however, I choose a value of 0 as the level and multiply by 2, now I'm expecting that to become 188 and this one to become 192. Offset by 1 point enables us to define either by coordinate or by one or other of the mode options to transform one point to another. If I wish to move that point to that location, then the whole survey will get moved eastings and northings. That's a translation. Instead of having to know the eastings offset and the northings offset as you would have done with the transform east-north level, you are able to move it in one go. This command, however, is not able to rotate the survey. Rotate and scale by 2 points requires that we define a pivot point, we define a from position and a to position. What's going to happen is it's going to pivot about this point here and it's going to move that point to that location. Now I've used the mouse to select these points, but of course you can type in the from and the to coordinates and also the pivot. That rotation from there to there is 24 degrees, and optionally we can scale the survey as well. Because that point is closer to that pivot, then it will offer to reduce the whole scale of the entire survey if we so desire. I am going to demonstrate the transform, offset, rotate and scale by 2 points through a more complex scenario than we previously looked at in the other transform commands. The situation I'm going to show you is where we have a survey that may have been provided to us from a CAD package as a DXF, and that survey is at national grid coordinate position. And what we want to do is transform our currently open survey, which is at a local grid coordinate, so that it overlays the provided data from the CAD package. This will be useful if you were given a design in a DXF and you wanted to overlay your original ground level survey on top of it. Before we do that, I'm going to over display that other survey. I'm just going to do it in a single colour. If I now display all, we will see what are effectively just two small patches of data. But if we zoom in to this area here, we will see a few points and links. and they have corresponding points and links down here at this local grid position, such as this concrete slab, this corner of this building, etc. Now when we over display, what we want to do is to be able to snap on the points in that over displayed survey. I go into transform, offset, rotate and scale by 2 points, and because I'm going to transform this survey, this is the one that will be selected as the from point. If I go to locate and zoom in on the first of 2 points I'm going to use, so if I go that as the first point and that as the second from point, and remembering which points they are, I now go and find those same 2 points in this survey, I'm going to move that point to that coordinate and that point to that coordinate. This will involve a horizontal shift and also rotation and potentially a rescaling of the current survey. It's chosen to offset by this amount, and because the 2 surveys are oriented the same way, then there is no rotation, and because they're at exactly the same scale, there is no scaling to perform either. As soon as I hit OK and then display all, you will see that the 2 surveys are now sitting on top of each other. Some of the transformation commands, such as the rotate and scale and offset, rotate and scale commands, require that the survey contains no radial observations. In order to convert a survey, which in this case contains radial angle and distance readings, we can select transform observations to XYZ and convert it in this fashion. We can also optionally delete any survey stations if we don't want them to be retained. Now when we query the points, we just get XYZ. Whenever you perform a transformation, LSS creates a text file in the same folder as the currently open survey, an event log, which we can view and delete. This event log tells me that on this date, at this time, with this version of LSS, I transformed by east-north with these values.